welcome back to another PODMAS episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine. We're on episode 7 of PODMAS 2021. I always gotta pause. All right. So the last episode was a lot, right? Right? But I'm glad I got that off my chest. I still stand 10 toes down on what the fuck I was saying. It grinds my gears not to continue the conversation. We're moving on, Maxine. It's time to let Todd go. Right? Remember? If you know, you know. But I just really get disappointed when I'm looking forward to community and community don't look forward to me. Right? So anyway, let's just move forward. Let's get into this story that I came across recently. It's of this judge. Her name is Michelle Odinet. I'm making it seem like her last name is African. I don't know how to say her last name without making it sound like that. So Odinet, maybe Odinet. She's a judge, and she was caught making racial slurs as she was watching her house get robbed, and she was looking at the footage of a black man pinned down by 2 police officers while they were holding him down because the black man was attempting to burglarize her home. Now, look, I mean, what do y'all think I'm gonna say? Let's look at the context. My first question after reading this is, when is it okay to say a racial slur? As a white person, as a Hispanic, as a black woman, you know what I mean? Like, as a black woman, there are racial slurs that I could say, but like, everyone could say anything. But for, how some people be like, well, black people can't be racist. Oh, okay, we could be racist towards Asians and, whatever. So I'm asking the question of, when is it okay to say racial slurs? Because in my opinion, I think it's fine to be a little racist when your home is getting burglarized. I'm not going to be over here watching footage on my Ring app as I'm seeing a man who happens to be a black man come, knock my front windows out and get the china that I saved for generations in my family and go to my jewelry box. I'm watching him just completely take over my home, vandalize it, tear it down to shreds, and you're mad that I'm calling him an ape? I don't know what she said specifically, but I'm just thinking of all the racial slurs. I'm sure she said the N-word. But I just feel like that's besides the point. I feel like that should be the last thing to discuss here. The first point should solely be, dang, her shit got robbed. Like, there should be some justice for that. First of all, how was he able to get access into her home? Why did he target her home? Or, what about her home? Was he stalking her the whole time? Like, what if children were in the home? What if other family members were in the home? I'm looking at all those things first. My first take isn't, she said the N-word, she called him a nigger. Girl, I don't care about that. I wouldn't care about that initially. That wouldn't be my first take. My first take is, no, this nigga didn't, right? No, this nigga just come in my house and blah, blah, blah. Yes, I could say that, sure. But I also don't find it necessary to harp on this woman who's watching, this white woman, because we got to make that clear here. I don't find it necessary to harp on the fact that in her reaction to watching footage of her Ring app, she is seeing a man who happens to be black attempting to burglarize her home, and while he attempted, or after he attempted, he was pinned down by 2 police officers. So I'm thinking, of course, in her head, she's probably like, yes, they got this nigga, right? Whatever racial slur she's using. But I'm thinking she is happy that his attempt to burglarize her home got put to an end, got stopped before it got worse. I'm not excusing necessarily her using a racial slur. White people, anyone shouldn't use a racial slur. I get that, but I think we have to look at the context and understand why she said nigga, right? Like, what's that Chris Rock joke where he's like, I may not agree with it, but I understand. Like, I understand. I may not agree with her. I'm definitely paraphrasing, but he definitely say a part in his joke where he says, I understand. He said like that. But, I may not agree with her calling him whatever racial slur she called him, but I understand why she did it, right? I understand her emotional tone. I understand. I understand. And girl, you get a pass for me. You get a pass because I wrote down a couple of reasons, or just a couple of contextual examples that could excuse one from being considered racist. And what I have here is road rage. So when, someone's cutting you off, damn, this dumbass white ass bitch, or, just go off. Sure, be a little racist, that's okay. While you're being physically attacked, if I'm being punched by someone, I may happen to say whatever racist term I want to say in that moment if it's fitting to you. If we're in a heated argument and you're calling me out of my name, shit, I'm going to call you out your race. I'm going to go in deep. All bets are off. So I really don't feel like that should be the focus here. Oh, well, she said a racial slur. And so anyway, because we live in 2021, we live in a time when right is left is back is up. Like, everything is so messed up right now that because of that, she is now put on administrative leave, and her job is basically over as a judge. And look, I understand how it could impact her role as a judge. It may be viewed that she may be biased against African Americans because she uses racial slur while watching a man who happens to be black burglarize or attempt to burglarize her home. I get the conflict there, but I also feel like, again, we always need to be mindful of the context rather than just this title of an article, this clickbait. White judge uses racial slur. Like, okay, of course we're going to agree with the punishment of a white person using a racial slur against a black person. But we happen to miss the fact that this black person, this black man, was attacking her humble abode. We happen to forget that this man, who, yes, he happens to be black, burglarized her home. Are we going to politely say, hey, Robert, could you please get out? I know you're an upstanding individual and you're just going through a hard time right now. This pandemic has hit all of us. This scandemic has hit all of us. But I would really appreciate if you could just leave my house right now. And please don't take my child. Don't take my child. Like, no, nigga, get the fuck out of my house. I mean, what? I don't know. I just feel like in these cases, it's okay to be a little racist. It's okay. It's okay. And I wrote down here that there's an agenda here being pushed. And the agenda, in my opinion, is to continue with this chaotic environment that has been built and that has been just building more and more since the height of the George Floyd situation, since the start of the scandemic, since defund the police first began. this agenda to be more chaotic, to be more all over the place, to be less orderly, is all an agenda to tear us all apart. When we defund the police, who's gonna come and rescue you when your home is being burglarized? Okay. So when we defund the police, and you know what's so funny? All of this is so funny. I feel like everyone who's been listening to me from the beginning, or not even just the beginning, from the height of the pandemic, I was more, I was more in favor of recognizing the racial inequities in this pandemic. I was believing what was going, you know what, hold on. I was at first, but then I quickly woke up to the bullshit. I was seeing a lot of things online in the media from different sources and just from my day to day that just didn't add up. And my stance politically drastically changed. But because I had more questions, and I was noticing that, yes, the mask was definitely an inconvenience, but it just didn't add up anymore. At first, I was for it. Like, okay, I'm gonna wear my mask. You know, I'm gonna be down for the team. And then I'm realizing, wait, there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It seems like the push here is to always be in this state of fear. No, I'm not rocking. And so that's when I started doing my separate research, separate understandings and conclusions when it comes to what's going on. And my shift began. And so you hear me now being more of an independent thinker. What? I'm tired, y'all. Being more of an independent thinker and not allowing the sheep to influence my mindset. Just the other day, I was at work, of course, and one of my coworkers who's like so weird with it, she stays talking about the latest cases going on that the local news says, and yeah, Marcy, there's about 2-3 more cases. Like, okay, have a good day. Like, fear mongering. It's so weird because so when you take your mask off and eat, are you safe for those 30 minutes? And when you put it back on, you're protected suddenly? Like, just the basic things that we're doing doesn't make sense. So at what point are you going to sit up and be like, okay, the vaccines? Okay, we were initially promised that the vaccines was going to put an end to it. We get back to normal and you won't get sick once you're vaccinated, and the goalpost keeps moving. Okay, well, you will get sick. I mean, you may get sick, but you won't die. Okay, the goalposts move again. Okay, well, there's such a thing as an outbreak case, which even though you're vaccinated, you could get sick and you may die. You still have a potential to die. When just a few months ago, it was promised that the vaccine was a cure-all, end-all. Now that it's out, we're then again hearing more and more rhetoric that continues to push this fear-mongering agenda. So I just feel like with this story, of course, you know, a white person shouldn't say a racial slur, but I also think, don't be robbing my home, nigga. Like, right? Like, at this point, it's okay. Like, you get the pass from me. You could get the pass from me. Another racial slur, or soon to be considered racial slur, is the word looting. The word looting has now been attached with a negative racial connotation. And what's interesting about this is that since the beginning of the pandemic, there's been a lot of looting going on. And not even actually during it was still during the pandemic. Because I'm thinking about George Floyd. That was still during the pandemic. So yes, looting was happening a lot. It was happening in reaction to the lack of justice had against racially inequitable situations that was going on, inequitable cases that was happening in the court of law with Breonna Taylor, with George Floyd, and countless cases. And so a lot of African Americans and people in general, but you see the focus more according to the media, which is, again, not our friend. We have to do our own independent research because it's really Antifa. But according to the media, you see a lot of African Americans in line, not in line anymore, but looting their asses off. And they're tearing down local shops, and they're doing so because they're letting the elite, the ones in charge, know that they're upset with the outcome and the verdict and the Trayvon Martin case, and like just a plethora of cases that did not show up as equitable. Which at one point, and it's funny, again, a few, like at the start of the pandemic, I was in favor of looting the shit. And, so what if this local mom and pop shop got vandalized? We gotta still do it for the people, burn this whole shit down. But after thinking on my own and being more independent in my thought, I'm realizing this is only hurting us. Looting is only hurting us. It is not telling the ones in elite power, in elite positions that, okay, it's time for you guys to make a change. No. The change starts with us. We have to realize our own power. We have to realize, okay, we have the choice to either acquiesce or stand in our own mental headspace. And a lot of us still have yet to recognize our own power. So again, I think with this whole act of looting, and it's still going on, particularly in California, law enforcement experts, like, what does that even mean? How are you a law enforcement experts? Okay. In California are arguing that the term looting shouldn't be used to describe the recent large-scale thefts in Cali. So I'm reading this article and I'm trying to figure out, okay, so what other term can be used then? I literally wrote down this question. So what else is it? If it's not looting, then what is it? Hello? Are you not stealing from me? Are you not wrecking down my hard-earned, family-owned business? Like, you doing that to the local mom and pop shop around the corner has nothing to do with you being mad at the outcome of the Trayvon Martin case, of the, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no connection here. But yet there's an encouragement. If we're really paying attention, there's an encouragement to be angry, to be upset, to be outraged, and to wreck whatever's going on, to be angry at people all the time, to divide us, to create these social groups that are made up because of a new acronym being pushed out, and everything is created to divide us. And if we don't recognize that, we're going to continue to be our own downfall. So looting is like now considered a racially motivated term and basically is racist. But again, what the fuck else is there? So, I mean, I don't know what else to say in this moment, because there's looting is happening because the opportunity is there. If you're telling me defund the police, if you're telling me that the police isn't even showing up anymore, they don't want to be seen as racist, they don't want their badge taken away, they're afraid of really coming to the crime of the scene or scene of the crime because of what could be shown in the media, and police aren't showing up anymore. Police have taken time to sit down and not really do their job anymore because of what's been going on and the hatred towards police. And look, I'm not necessarily pro police as far as thinking that they're perfect and that there aren't any bad apples, because certainly there are. Certainly, if we go back to Rodney King, so certainly there are. But in the case of law and order, there needs to be law and order. We cannot live in a world where there is no consequence for criminal behavior. And yes, criminal behavior also includes looting. You can't steal from other people and think it's okay. You can't vandalize people homes and stores and businesses and think it's okay. And there's also a law in California where if you steal less than $900 worth of merchandise, you're not at all seen as a criminal. You won't be jailed. They can't arrest you. Like, you could get away with anything. Like, it's lit, huh? If you're a criminal, like if you are a career criminal, it's lit for you in Cali. But if you are trying to be an upstanding citizen and live in a safe environment, or you strive to, you have children, it's a scary place to go. Just recently, the police officer or the police force is saying, hey, don't come here. Do not come to California. We can't guarantee your safety. We can't guarantee that we will protect and serve you because there's a lot going on, and it's hard for us to catch up on all the crime that's going on. All this crime going, like, what is the solution here for it? We need to stop pushing this rhetoric in the media to defund the police. We need to stop pushing this rhetoric in the media that the law and order is racist, when it's, yes, there have been racial inequities, but as far as not recognizing the necessity behind law and order, that is only hurting us. That is only, and I did talk about this before at the start of the pandemic, before I did a shift in my political stance, in my mindset. I recognized that the abolitionist movement, it sounds nice, right? Like, it sounds nice and ideal to live in a world where you can talk it out, right? The whole defund the police movement started, or the push for it was to say, well, hey, let's take the money from the police system and reallocate it to other resources that will better help the community, right? So resources like mental health, resources like, stuff that's like more holistic, therapeutic, all this stuff. And it's like, okay, but what about the rapists and but what about the rapists, the serial murderers, like all of these like heinous activity that takes place in this world consistently from the day it all began? What are we gonna do with them? Right? We can't just take them away and put them in an island or find a way to capture them and talk it out. There has to be a place to lock these people away to ensure the safety of citizens who want to live a safe and protected environment. There's a way, like, it sounds nice to be an abolitionist, right? It sounds very just, oh my gosh, you're so like, you're a guru. You know what to do. You're such a healer. But it doesn't make sense. We need the police. We need law and order. We need prisons. Now, prison reform should take place, though. I am in favor of prison reforms. I do believe that the prison system has always been the new Jim Crow, the new slavery, and I definitely still see that as far as inmates are seen as dollar bills. So that is still a real thing. And I think with prison reform, we can actually push for a more rehabilitation movement and stance and push overall in the prisons. However that looks like, that's more conversation that needs to be had. But I think for sure there needs to be a reform to how prisons are ran, a push to stop the corruption in prisons, right? There shouldn't be COs who are making deals with prisoners. There shouldn't be drug dealing happening. Prisoners should not be able to send a hit out and kill people while they're behind bars. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But because the corruption in this world is so thick, it still is bleeding into behind the cell, behind the bars. So overall, there needs to be reform in the prison system, but there still needs to be prison. Like, I don't want to take away prisons. And I still want to use the term, put him under the jail. Right? Put that nigga under the jail. I don't want to see you breathe anymore. I want you under the jail. The dirt is where you need to be, under it. Okay? That's what needs to happen. So again, the agenda here is to focus more on things that shouldn't matter. This whole focus on, oh, this white woman said this racial slur. The civilians here are looting, and looting is a racist term. Let's talk about the looting, though. Why are you looting? Why are you tearing apart this business that I built for 15 years? You know, so this time that we're in, where when wearing masks is mandated, it's easy to perform criminal behavior. It's easy to get away with it, especially when you can't tell someone to take out your mask. They could just say, no, my life, COVID, yada, yada, yada. So, child, it's just it's very fucked up the way that we're living and the way things are getting excused. And we're putting this Band-Aid on it like, oh, well, we just got to reallocate the funds. No, we don't. Because nobody gives a fuck, okay? I tell you that in the school system, and I probably shouldn't even be saying that. But there are a lot of people who are in the special ed department. The only reason they sign up more students to be a part of the department is because the more students, the more money, the more funding comes in. The more opportunities you get to say, hey, I got 6 more students in this department. I need $6 more $1,000 and $1,000 and $1,000 added. Okay? Because I need to get resources. I need to get support. I need to get accommodations. I need to get all these things for my stupid kid. I'm sorry. But you know what I mean? For my special kid. I think it's push on these students thinking about, oh, well, this kid is actually, you know, she struggles with X, Y, and Z. She struggles with ADHD. She struggles with concentration. We all do. Sit down. Sit down. Okay, sit down. Sit down. Look, as a teacher, I do give my accommodations as far as graphic organizers, but I give it to everybody, right? Like, nothing is really done. And thankfully, I don't have any, like, strong cases of extreme ADHD. Because at this point, as many years as I've been in this field of education, I still don't have the time for that. Like, sit down. I don't care you got ADHD or whatever you think you have. Sit down. Sit down. Okay, I'm not. Okay, you can leave my room. I am quick. Hello? Is my mic on? I am quick to say you can leave my. If you don't want to be here, you could go. I've learned that I may not be every student's favorite teacher. And I'm not here to even be a favorite to you. Like, that's not my job. I think oftentimes, because times are so different from when I was a student long ago in middle school, even in high school, I will still take that as an example. There were no blurred lines between teacher and student. And when I was in high school and middle school, social media wasn't a thing yet. We had MySpace, but we also didn't care about finding our teachers online. You got some kids of mine trying to find me online, which they do, which I eventually had to privatize. That's a word, right? Privatize. I had to put my Instagram on private because too many of them was checking out my stories. Will come to school the next day talking about, oh, miss, you referencing what I said in my Instagram story. I'm sorry. Is this my page or yours? Okay. And so it pushes this idea that, oh, teachers shouldn't put their stuff out there, and we shouldn't have a life outside of teaching. When it's like, no, fuck that shit. I do have a life outside of teaching. And if I want to have a social media presence, if I want to put my feelings out on social media and rant about what happened when I picked up my item from Bed Bath & Beyond, let me do that. Let me do that. Don't come to my classroom the next day talking about, oh, Miss, I saw what you wrote on your Instagram. I heard what you said on your podcast. Get out of my face. But why did I bring that? I brought that up because, yeah, I mean, the whole special ed shit is dumb. That's what I brought that up. That's why I brought that up. And I think overall, everything's a money grab. So going back to the prison system, it's just an opportunity to gain more money. The more heads, the more inmates come in, the more funding, the more excuses you could say, hey, I need more money, government. Give me more money. Give me more money. Let's get into this medical apartheid that is going on in NYC and in the world, really. But specifically, a doctor is suing. His name is Dr. Gold, actually. Sounds like a fake name, right? Let me just make sure this is a true story. Give me a second. Okay, so I'm going to write this down. So America's Frontline Doctors is an organization, has filed a suit against NYC Mayor de Blasio regarding his vaccine mandate. This is a separate suit from the suit filed by NYC restaurants and other businesses. And so when I click this article, it goes into more detail about specifically why he is being sued, and they're titling it as medical apartheid. So, again, they're doing it because the mandate requires people to have a vaccination passport, quote unquote, to enter restaurants, bars, gyms, and live shows, etc. And we all know this by now. This has been implemented for a few months now in New York, and I think also in LA. And it's been just a shit show. Like I'm not in New York, but it just really saddens me to know that this is where New York is right now. And from different podcasts that I listen to, or one in particular that I listen to that's on the same wavelength as me, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and politically, thankfully. Okay, bars. They made it clear that, yes, although New York is mandating vaccine passports, there are many areas in New York that you could go to that do not mandate that. There's a place they said called Westchester, Jersey, don't give a fuck about that. So all these other little places, you just got to know the right people. Because I just was under the impression that everybody in New York just acquiesced and just shut up and put up. And though I did see marches of people fighting against it and speaking up about it, but I didn't think, it felt like it wasn't enough people really standing up. So it just seemed like there were more people acquiescing than there were people fighting back. So anyway, this has been filed against Mayor de Blasio, who has been receiving a lot of backlash. He's just been a trash ass mayor. His push for people getting the vaccine has been very it's actually a mockery. He's saying, hey, if you get the vaccine, you'll get a free burger at this new burger joint. And it's like, how insulting are you? So the way that he's talking about it is just very, it's so pushy, and it makes you think, again, the agenda is being pushed even more, and it's becoming more of this, is trying to be more of this tyrannical, just unconstitutional way of living. You know, hey, if you want to eat, get a vaccine. If you want to laugh, get a vaccine. If you want to, and by laughing, I mean, if you want to go to a comedy show, you can't go to a comedy show unless you get a vaccine. And by eating, if you want to go out to eat, even indoors or outdoors, you gotta get a vaccine. So, again, it's pushing this tyrannical, just unconstitutional way of living. It is creating more of this fear-based system, and if you don't follow it, then you should be deserted into an island. You don't deserve any rights. Don Lemon saying that dumb shit. Like, I'm at a loss. So we'll see where this lawsuit goes. I don't know how far it could go. I'm hoping it can go far, and I'm finding hope in finding other like-minded people who feel the way that I feel, who's recognizing what I'm recognizing. It makes me feel less alone. Shout out to Freckles Bay, because I really appreciate outside thinkers. I appreciate people who can open my mind even more further outside of the agenda and what's being pushed. So hopefully I could be of that influence to someone else. I hope that I am. And I just want, ultimately, I don't want you to necessarily think only the way that I'm thinking. I want you to think for yourself. That's what I want to encourage. That's what I want to push. That's my agenda. Think for yourself. Have your own mindset. Challenge the status quo. Ask questions. Don't just sit back and take it. You could get up. You can say, no, put that condom on. Put it on. You can put it on. So that's really my agenda. That's my goal with it all. That is my goal with it all. Okay? Anyway, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another PODMAS episode of God Built This Podcast. And I will check in with you guys tomorrow again.